Few people have spent this much time at the heart of like entrepreneurship, innovation, leadership, and he's the driving force of some of the most influential business ecosystems. And I've been researching him on LinkedIn, where he's very prominent. He has a lot of posts and a lot of connections. And I've been very inspired by what he's working on. And I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you. Thank you for joining the podcast, James.
Thanks for having me. That was a gracious introduction.
I want to start from the beginning. Like, what inspired you to have like this passion for entrepreneurship and innovation?
Well, I come from an entrepreneurial family. So my father and his brothers owned a real estate and travel and insurance business. So coming from an entrepreneurial family, I always had a keen interest in the field. And while I worked for that family business for a few years, I went back to school to get my MBA and was about to take a corporate marketing job. And because that interest of being entrepreneurial was always in my back of my head, there was another opportunity at an entrepreneurship center, one of the few at the time, actually. And so I said, why don't I do this for 2 years just to see what it is? These opportunities don't come along so often. And so I did that, and I had so much fun that I ended up staying there for 17 years. And so to be able to help entrepreneurs, help students, help bridge the gap between academia and industry was a lot of fun. And we got to do some really neat things, and it was very gratifying. So that sort of propelled me into my next position, which was a larger platform. So the university was in northern New Jersey, and that campus and that sort of sphere was northern Jersey. And then this other opportunity was leading the New Jersey Tech Council, which is a large tech trade association with which we grew to 1,000 plus members. And that extended the platform of helping entrepreneurs from a region to a tri-state region, from New York City through New Jersey, all the way down to Philadelphia. And so that was a really great experience, helping entrepreneurs, helping tech leaders, helping an ecosystem thrive.
I went to an entrepreneurship school, which is called Babson, and the atmosphere, the energy, the people there, first of all, I loved it and I felt I fit in. But I also felt it was a lot of misfits, a lot of people that were very different and thought very different. And when you put them in a classroom or tried to teach them something, everybody found a way to do something else. So what do you think, what is the most common factor or aspect that you help entrepreneurs with?
Well, it depends. So strategy, right? General guidance. Of course, fundraising advice or helping them get funding is one of the bigger challenges for entrepreneurs. Getting them engaged with the community is one way to sort of accomplish a lot of the goals that they need to accomplish to be successful, right? Is to sort of build a company with great partners, with great talent, and that will attract, great funding or great, financial partners. And then the business can scale. And then the other thing is that's really important for entrepreneurs, as you well know, is to surround yourself with really smart people and advisors and mentors, because those people can help guide you through what I like to call the hardest job in the world, being an entrepreneur who can scale from idea to a large business, be it tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, because the skill sets change, Ahmed. They change from a founder with vision and persistence to a manager, a growth manager, to someone who has to oversee a board, get funding, potentially go public. So those skill sets, are very varied. And so it takes a really special entrepreneur to be able to be successful, again, going from an idea to a very large company. And that's really hard. And very few entrepreneurs have those skill sets or have the ability or agility to keep learning, gain those skills, and really thrive as the company scales.
I loved how you said engage with the community, because I do believe no man is an island, that everybody needs the support. Like you, as an entrepreneur, if you have the hardest job, if your community doesn't value, that's where you start selling. That's who you sell to. So it's the perfect battleground to perfect and scale your business before you go to cross the chasm, which is to the people who don't know you, to the tri-state, to the region, to the country, international. And having that connection with the community is incredibly important. And you mentioned something about change and in the different life stages of an entrepreneur as the business grows, and how you need to be prepared for the different stages. I also loved how you said mentorship, because I believe that the only shortcut in life is through mentorship. That's the only shortcut that exists. And entrepreneurs need it. You need to find how to not make the same mistakes twice. You need to make other mistakes, but if you make same mistakes twice, it's just double the time or triple the time. How has entrepreneurship changed in the last 17 years? Does when you taught or when you were part of Entrepreneurship University and now part of the New Jersey Tech Hub, is it what do you think is different today? What skill sets have been more important than others?
Well, I think a lot of those same skill sets are important, but the ability to manage technology, right, and be able to scale, with a lot less money is the new skill set, right? And it's a great opportunity, right? The cost of launching a company from 20 years ago is 1/100th, maybe 1/1000th the cost. You don't have to build or buy servers. You don't have to hire as many people. The reality is you're going to be able to hire or build AI agents or leverage AI to do a lot of the work, to minimize risk, to scale, to go to market much more efficiently. So I think the key skill these days, again, the same skills, persistence, building relationships, motivating people, managing people are still there. But what's coming to the forefront is the skill set of being able to leverage this powerful technology to launch and scale your company effectively.
It's definitely a cheaper moment in time to launch your company. But doesn't that also make it more competitive or more accessible, which also makes it harder? Or do you think it makes it easier?
Well, I think you bring up a good point. There will be far more competition, right? So you need to learn how to differentiate. If everyone has the same tools, right, then you really have to differentiate on speed to market or creating barriers of entry, creating a brand that is important. Again, the importance of mentors and advisors to give you a leg ahead or, give you that advantage are really important. Because again, as you say, when all these tools are available and the cost goes to almost zero, then there's many, many more competitors, not only locally and domestically, but internationally. So that is a keen reality, and time will tell to see how things sort of shake out. But at the end of the day, those same skills I mentioned earlier about sort of creating a vision, motivating people, creating relationships, strong relationships, creating a team, those are going to be really valuable because if you need investment, right? And again, sometimes you may not if you can scale quickly enough, but if you need investment, investors are going to invest in a team, right? And your skills and people they feel comfortable with. And so the skills just mentioned are still very important.
For sure. I agree with you. I think it's no one invests because of your tech stack or because everybody's going to be using the same, but they're going to invest in the team. And another point that I want to highlight that you said, which is linked to execution. And it's always been this way, but now it's even more important. An idea is nothing without execution. And if you have a very fast pace to market and you're able to get things done, that's who's going to get funded. That's the one that's going to scale faster. So I think putting a lot of emphasis into execution rather than, let's say, more traditional routes of let's write a business plan, let's see if we can perfect everything on the product before we even launch. Now it's like, let's launch and then let's keep it's sort of like pedaling on a bicycle. Let's just try to keep pedaling before we fall.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's one difference today as compared to 20 years ago or 10 years ago. We used to talk about business plans and large, documents, as you may recall in school. There were classes around that, and it was important to understand how to do that. Now, it's a pitch deck. It's much, much quicker. And the reality is that any forecast, any business plan is going to change innumerable times And so that's just the reality. So don't spend time on this formal pitch, this formal business plan, but instead keep pivoting, keep changing it to make sure you get product market fit and then get funding or not get funding. Nowadays, again, the costs are so low that you might be able, many companies may just be able to use family and friends, right? And get to break even and scale from there. So it just depends.
Yeah. I like that we're living in an era where we're not getting money as entrepreneurs. I think that the previous generation that was like, I have a PowerPoint, and you just said, I'm the Uber of food delivery. I'm the Airbnb of hairstyles or hair salons. Got you $10 million. I'm glad that that era is dead, because I think that today entrepreneurs are very much focused into profitability, into execution. Because there's no money, you have to become a lot more attuned to not burning it, but producing it. And that's what an entrepreneur should be focused on.
100%. And I like to say, we always hear the word lifestyle businesses, and I hated it when people sort of threw shade on that or downplayed lifestyle businesses. Whereas in my head, lifestyle businesses are the best, where you can have balance and make a living and not kill yourself trying to raise money or meet the next quarter's financials. So there's a lot of value, and I think the market has respected that more and more. That there is value in lifestyle businesses, and that has actually, that has changed now. Lifestyle businesses can be seen as sort of the new side hustle, right? Side hustles are just fantastic, right? I mean, they've been around forever, but now it's assumed you have a side hustle. There's no issues with you having a side hustle, whether you work for a large company, a nonprofit, small company. Everyone assumes that, you want to stay creative, you want to make some extra money, and that's a good thing, or at least most people do. And I think that is another big change over the past 2 decades, is this, particularly during COVID, right? The scaling of side hustles is amazing. And that is an amazing reality, because it extends the entrepreneurial mindset to so many more people, right? And that's good for everyone, right? That's not only good for the person to have a passion and learn about building a business, it's good for the company the incumbent company they work for, because it makes them more productive at work. They're more innovative. They're looking for ways to serve the customer, to create new products or services, because they have that side hustle, which is sort of complementing their day job.
Yeah. And going back to academia and universities, I think 4 years ago or 5 years ago, most of entrepreneurship schools or MBAs were like, what is the way to become the next Airbnb or Uber? They looked at that model as exclusive, and it was sexy, and it was like, if you don't do this, this is the way. And today business schools are teaching about private equity and saying, like, buy boring businesses, buy businesses from boomers who are retiring, because that's a new wave of, I guess, doing business today. But I am curious about your journey, 17 years plus, all your track record. What's been like one project or initiative that you're most proud of, and why?
Well, one thing that's been most gratifying, and this is recent, there's a lot of things over the years, I have to think hard about that, but one of the things that has really been gratifying, one of the hallmarks of my career has been sort of launching innovative programs, elevating innovative people, bringing in, top innovation leaders to speak at different forums, right? Whether I was at the Entrepreneurship Center or at the Tech Council. And then last year, I created a new program called Innovate 100, which elevates all the people, all the top, innovation leaders in New Jersey. And that was a tremendous success. So I was really delighted to be able to do that, again, to surface, elevate, reward, right? Honor innovators in my state, right? And this is a great program that could be sort of replicated in other places. But it's a novel program because there's not really anything like it. You have the top business leaders, you have the top CIOs, you have the top CEOs, the top innovators are sometimes not typically honored. They're under the covers, right? They're behind the scenes, right? And yet they're doing the most important work. And so what this program did and does is sort of highlight the importance of innovation, whether you're in a small company, big company, nonprofit, government, academia. You could be anywhere and you could be innovative. You could be entrepreneurial. So that's been a really great highlight that's ongoing. We're doing our this year's program this May, and that program is well underway. So that's been gratifying to me because it's helping the community. And part of my career has been helping other people, right? And so it really checks many boxes for me.
I love the understatedness of the innovator and how this program is sort of elevating them and giving them the recognition they deserve. I'm sure that it's caused other people to say, I do want to be an innovator. I don't want to be an entrepreneur, or I can innovate in my own job. Is there any stories there that have come from this program?
Not yet. I mean, but that's a really good sort of possibility. I'm sure it's happening. And that's the other part of it, is it inspires others, right? You elevate people and you promote it really well. People sort of see this and recognize innovation at different types of companies, which aren't normally thought of as innovative, as something that everyone can relate to. And that's really important.
Absolutely. And why did you mentioned it a few times, New Jersey, and the localness. Why was that such an important thing to do locally?
Well, it's, where I've lived my whole life. So that's why it's important. And typically New Jersey has been, again, a great state, very innovative state, but always in the shadow of New York, right? And so to be able to sort of brag about the great talent we have in this state, the great innovators we have in the state, was really gratifying to me personally.
Yeah, I see that. I think that anybody assumes that everybody that's good is just going to go to New York, and the ones that, there's this odd assumption, but really by doing this, it makes people proud of where they live. And I think that it's this type of, I can understand why you're proud to do this, because it's highlighting not only the underdog or perhaps the one that's behind the scenes, which is the innovator, but also the state where they live and where they're actually working. So it sort of propels what you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
And you've worked for both like startups and corporations. What is the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs face today?
So I'd say, okay, so if it's an entrepreneur, it's obviously getting started, right? Getting traction in the marketplace. That's hard. Once you get traction, you can go from there, right? You can get funding and go from there. If an entrepreneur and intrapreneur is in a corporation, you still have the same age-old issue of working in a bureaucracy. And that's challenging, right? Getting buy-in from your superiors. And then having the leadership be consistently supportive of innovation within a company. And sometimes innovation takes a long time, and there's failures, a lot of failures. And so if there's not patience or patient leadership, as we call it, then innovation isn't going to really happen at a large organization, be it business or academia or government or even nonprofits. So I think that's one of the things that entrepreneurial people, innovative people have to be sort of conscious about when they're trying to do new things.
So is it they're trying to do new things, but they should be conscious that it might take a long time, or that they're facing a system that doesn't want them to innovate?
It just depends where they're at. They have to understand their environment and the challenges incumbent in that environment, right?
I see.
It's not going to be an easy road. It almost never is.
And I think there's probably like cultures or perhaps ecosystems that are more open and some that are more closed. And I agree with you. It's more like the circumstances that make that challenge either much bigger or also impossible. Some companies don't want to innovate. They just want to keep doing. And then what would you suggest to the entrepreneur, that they should leave or that they should fight?
Yeah, it's probably a combination of both, right? You have to fight, see where it goes. And then if you're not being supportive and you get too frustrated, then leave and start something else. And many times, this is how new businesses start. They leave and start an emerging competitor to that business.
Yeah,
That
so
is sort of the entrepreneurial process.
for sure, and that's such a big opportunity because it's like I left a company that didn't want to innovate, and I saw this opportunity, so I did it myself. That story is actually very enticing and appealing to people that like to move around the status quo. What alternative investments, venture capital, and let's say corporate innovation are like all key to growth. You need these three. You need funding, and you mentioned funding a few times. What are trends that you're seeing in these areas right now?
Well, right now the big trend is everything AI, right? I mean, that can't be understated, right? Or it can't be overstated, frankly. If a company is not using AI to be more successful, then that's going to be a limitation. And I think whether you're, partners, your advisory board, your funders, don't see that and realize it, then, you better realize it before they do, because it's a very powerful technology, and it's at this point expected that you leverage it in some way, to thrive.
Do you feel, 4 years ago, crypto was the end all be all, and more importantly, blockchain was the end all, solve all problems? Today, it's no longer in the mouths of everybody. It's more AI being used like a buzzword even.
Yeah.
Do you think it's as is equal to crypto? Will this be something that maybe in a few years there's something else, or do you think it's actual? Okay, if you're not on this train, you're gonna miss it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you're going to miss the train, because, some say we're only in the second inning of a 9-inning game, right? So it's never too late to get involved. I do think it's different from blockchain and crypto, right? Because the amount of, again, this is the fourth hype cycle actually of AI, right? So, but because there's now mass adoption, meaning 2 billion people have used it, right? In a world of 8 million, in a world of 6 million people who are attached to the internet, that's penetration. It's sort of like the fastest penetration ever in our history of a technology, right? So no longer is it, I mean, there's still hype around everything, AGI and stuff like that. But as far as the use of a tool that is amazingly helpful, or could be amazingly helpful, I don't believe it's going to go the road of crypto or blockchain or Web3. I think it's just going to become more ubiquitous, and it's going to be everywhere. And it's incumbent on everyone to learn how to leverage it for their own job, their own future, to sort of really excel in their careers. So be they entrepreneurs or corporate workers or nonprofit workers, it is here to stay. Yeah.
And like you're saying, it's as important to leverage. I think that word is what I really feel is important. But with AI, it's you're doing the work of 5 people. Like you can do the work of 10 people because now you don't have an excuse, and it's lowering your expenses. You don't like we were talking about podcasting before, and I believe I'm like a solo creator, or I have a little bit of a team, but I would have had to have a production team, an editing team, a distribution team, a ads team. I got so many teams, and then not only have them, but train them, teach them what I do. It wouldn't have been something that I would even consider, because I don't do this for money. This is just for personal gain, of curiosity and learning and meeting people, which is something I love to do. AI allowed me to do it. I wouldn't have done it if it's like, okay, you need a 20-person team to do a podcast. That is a bit crazy. So agree with you. Can you share a story about a startup or an entrepreneur that made a big impact in your work?
There was actually a gentleman who is an entrepreneur who actually teaches at Babson, who has been a big mentor, big supporter of mine, a big inspiration for me. His name is Len Green, and he has a real estate, accounting, entrepreneurial empire, and you've never heard of him, or most people have never heard of him. But he's really a humble gentleman. He's really done a lot of great things. He's very supportive of the ecosystem. But he is someone who has gone into accounting, then went into real estate, then started launching different businesses or buying businesses, just because he could, and he was good at it. And so he was able to execute on ideas, right? We all have ideas, right? All of us. Ideas are easy, execution and taking those ideas to reality is hard. And what he did is he was able to sort of try different things and launch different businesses and just have fun. And his life is about having fun now, right? And now he's teaching the next generation. He's been teaching for a while. I used to teach at my university where I worked at the Entrepreneurship Center. Now he teaches at Babson, and he has been an inspiration in so many ways, right? Giving back, starting new businesses, perpetually creative and curious. And those are great qualities.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that you reference someone like that, because I feel that everybody, or most people would, I don't know, they idolize someone like Elon Musk a little bit too much, or someone that's like, if you're not extremely successful, if you're not the CEO of Uber, Airbnb, like these incredible founders. But there's also founders that are a little bit more modest, that just like, how can we solve this problem, and how can we do it profitably, and how can we have fun with it, what can we learn, how can we execute, and then it becomes sort of like a sport or a puzzle, perhaps more than a sport. It's like, how do I solve this? How have you incorporated it in your own life?
Sort of, I've been lucky that I have sort of balance, and I can sort of be helpful to others. So my whole career has been in the mostly nonprofit space, right? And so it's gratifying to just help people and not worry about a return. So that's been wonderful for me, and I'm just lucky I can do that. But it's been my whole career in many ways, and I'm lucky to continue doing that. So helping other people and helping the ecosystem is a really special sort of opportunity and privilege that I have. And so I look forward to doing it for many years more and trying new things. Just as I told you, Len Green does. He starts and launches new businesses, and I've been having fun doing the same. I'm not a billionaire yet, but I don't need to be to do that. As I just said, the ease of launching new businesses is getting close to zero. So, I'm looking forward to having more fun launching new ventures as well.
And that was going to be my next follow-up question, actually. What are you working on now, and what are you looking forward to doing in the next few years?
Yeah, so I'll be doing some more podcasting, some ideas around that. Launching a media venture in a few weeks. That's sort of like a tech crunch for New Jersey. So that's exciting. And again, a way to support the ecosystem, right? When most people say media is dead, it's nice to sort of go into something and build something special. And so that's on the one hand, it's a great challenge. On the other hand, it's supportive for the community. On the other hand, it could sort of spur different opportunities, right? So once you put yourself into different things, it creates other opportunities, which again is so gratifying, right? The ability to create a new idea and see it from idea to execution is one of the greatest pleasures of life, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. Whether it's a small program or whether it's $1 billion company, those are really very sort of gratifying and satisfying.
I agree with you. I think that the best compliment anybody could give you is to say you do what you say you're going to do. And that is ideation to execution.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And that's hard to do, as you know. It's hard to do. It's really, really hard to do.
Absolutely. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on the podcast, learn from your experience. I think that helping others, helping entrepreneurs, that energy is there. And I look forward to hearing your podcast, following you on your social media, and keep learning from you, because by helping others, like you said, with nothing in return, I actually think you have a wealth of knowledge, and a lot of us can learn from you. So thank you for
so
being
much.
here.
And I look forward to learning from you as well and following you. I'm really impressed with your success so far.
Thank you so much.